So today we have Tim Brown, and the owner, founder, CEO, head honcho, dishwasher, bottle washer for the Hook Agency, right? You kind of do it all. I'm sure you do it all, and you also have people that do different things as well. So welcome to the Roofing It podcast, Tim. It's really great to have you.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm super excited about this.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's just start with like where you're from and where you're born. I mean, your company is based in Minneapolis, I think, right?
Yep, in Minneapolis, and I grew up around here. I did move to Texas for a while, so like if I'm a little bit more direct than your average Minnesotan, that's why. And I love Texas, by the way. And frankly, the Texas vibe is partly why I got into working with roofers for something. I had good friends down in Texas, and there's something about roofers that just reminds me of Texas.
Yeah, for
sure. Like there's a little bit more directness. There's a little bit less bullshit. There's a little bit more, I don't know, like I've been talking about like interior, exterior vibes, like exterior remodelers, exterior home people are a little bit different than the interior people. So like, I guess I'm like an outdoor dog or whatever you'd say. And I relate with roofers for that reason.
And what part of Texas were you in before?
Dallas.
Dallas, okay.
Dallas and Waxahachie if you're from there, weirdly. And then I had a band there.
So, it does ring a bell, but I lived in Dallas for about 4 months. I lived in McKinney, Texas, and I worked in Plano, and I kind of went into the Dallas area and stuff. So I'm a little familiar with it, but I'm with you. I love Texas too. Texas is like special to my heart.
Got good vibes and house prices.
Yes, it's a good place for that. Yeah,
amazing. Like I'm like my wife was like, I'm not even gonna look down there because it's so good in comparison with like our house prices up here. It's nuts.
I just can't stand the heat, man. I cannot stand the heat down there. It's so hot in Texas. It's just crazy. But yeah, so there's a lot of roofers in Texas. I think they call it like the roofing capital of the world, really Dallas, as far as with hail and all that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure there's a lot of people in Dallas listening. As a matter of fact, there is an event coming up, SRC Summit. Have you heard of that event?
I have not. What is it about?
It's April Hall is an influencer in the roofing space, and she hosts this event called SRC Summit, and it is in Dallas, Texas. Big event in Texas in general, and they just kind of like similar to some of the other events, RoofCon, Win the Storm, all that kind of stuff. Except for hers is a little more kind of a little more informal, like networking based type event. Cool. And so if you're able to go, you should just go, man. Buy a ticket, just go hang out and go network. I'm
thinking about it. It sounds like a good event.
You should do it, dude. Yeah, for sure. Everyone should do it. Just buy a ticket and go. Like, don't think about it. Just go. Even if you as an agency owner, you can just go and network and meet some people. You don't necessarily. That's kind of what I realized. We don't have to have like a booth, a giant booth, and like the whole 9 yards. Yeah. You can go to events and have fun and network and meet people. You know, that's kind of what it's all about. So I've been doing that already for years. But anyways, man, yeah. So you're born there, and then you lived a little bit in Texas, and then you kind of went through. You went to school in Minneapolis, high school, and that kind of stuff, and college.
I went to school. Yeah, and I went down to Texas after all that. That I came back, and I went to school for. I kind of like late bloomer on the college side. I went to school for like web design. So I got really into websites, and that's all. About 9 years ago now. So like, as I progressed in my career a bit, I'm sure that some people are like 9-year career. That's never long. It feels like a long time. First 3-4 years were at another agency, and then I started my own. And as time has progressed, we've just found ourselves being the most useful to roofing and construction companies. So we've kind of started the ball rolling in that direction, and soon we'll be turning down any business that's not in that area. But basically I've got a lot more context on this niche than I think any other niche, just because, I'm going out, I've gone out and roofed a house with a client, I've gone out and shadowed a salesperson for a day. We go out and film a lot with clients now, filming and kind of just getting context and like understand, like we went down to Texas to film with somebody few months ago, and that was really cool. And just getting context on different markets and understanding, and I'm very curious, and most of the people we interview on our podcast are roofing related. So I'm digging in. It's fun.
That's
and
really
now
cool.
I feel like I'm not
really cool.
a roofer, but I've been around the perimeter, right? And I've just gathered a lot of information, and I'm very curious. So I like to just interview smart people and talk through it. And I feel like I've gathered a lot of information that way. But on my deepest skill set, and if you actually want to pick my brain, it's like around marketing. I have a lot of expertise around marketing.
Gotcha. You kind of touched on something that's interesting, which I think a lot of, roofing owners and people who are looking to grow a business really should think about, I think, is that the aspect of curiosity, and you being, very curious. And I think, we overlook some of that. Sometimes we kind of might be curious about something and we have an idea and we just kind of just chalk it off instead of like following it, and I think it's so important, to even, as a roofer, that to like follow that curiosity, and if you might have an idea as a roofer that you think your customer would really like and you think is really good, but like it's not being done yet. I think there are a lot of ideas out there still. And so I think it's important for people to, follow your curiosity and like see where it leads, and for us, that's kind of where it led into the lifetime workmanship warranty with our roofing company here in town. So, I was always wanting to do anytime anyone calls us because they had a problem with their roof, like we would go and fix it. Like I've always done that. So it didn't matter the time frame, and so I wanted to kind of like, do something with Foothills where we could just offer them a lifetime workmanship warranty. I was really curious how that would play out, and I followed it, and as I kind of did more research and found out more things out, I realized like if we use these certain boots called Lifetime Tool Ultimate Boots on the pipe boots, and we also really took more care with like the installation, we actually, the roof can last a lifetime. Barring any hail or wind or that kind of thing. So I kind of realized that even if they called me 20 years later after we did the roof and the roof's leaking and I did that roof, I'm going to go fix it. I'm not going to like be like, you got to pay me a repair. Like I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So, I just kind of, So, I think everybody needs to adopt at this point a lifetime workmanship warranty and like quit being so damn scared of it. Use better products. Cause it really comes down to the pipe boot. You got to use a pipe boot that will last. Cause the pipe boots the status quo pipe boots right now. So this is a roofing podcast. When we talk about pipe boots and stuff, the status quo of pipe boot industry right now is that it's a 1-year warranty. So you get the $15 pipe boot at Home Depot is warranted for 1 year, and we're putting 50-year roofs on. So it's like, you're putting a 1-year pipe boot on a 50-year roof. It makes no sense whatsoever. And that's where my curiosity started to kind of wonder, like, is there a way?
I love that.
You know what I mean? So anyways, so now I want everyone to adopt it. I talk a lot about lifetime workmanship warranty. It's almost like a little bit of a controversial thing because dudes are like, you can't do that, and that kind of stuff. But, it is what it is.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's like sometimes you feel uncomfortable. The business owner being in the shit a little bit sometimes. Like I want to talk about that because like you're in the shit. You see the negative vibes from a customer who has a bad experience. It's so good for you. And you're like, there's some people that want to be out of that as soon as possible, but being in there and feeling that uncomfortability drives you to innovate because you are uncomfortable too. And you want your business to do the best thing. And like Jeff Bezos thing is like the best part about customers is that there's divine discontent. They will always be mad. They'll always want more.
Yeah.
So like having when you're with customers, when you see that uncomfortability and you're just like, I want it to be better, even if that's not the standard. I want it to be better because they want it to be better. That drives all kinds of innovation. And the worst thing you can do is close your mind. The worst thing you can do is say, they just don't know. The homeowner just doesn't know. They should be satisfied with a 10-year roof or a 20-year roof or whatever. Yeah. They should be satisfied. It's ridiculous that, like we get in that mode. Every business gets in that mode, like where we get stuck. And then if we just close down and clamp down and say it's just how it has to be, like just keeping a little bit of that door open of just saying like, I could innovate. What could we do? I know it's not normal. I know it's not normal to do that lifetime workmanship warranty, but what could we do that would just make it possible? Is there anything like I think that's exactly what you're saying.
Well, it is kind of sketchy idea though, if you don't use the right pipe boots. Because if you do a lifetime warranty, you use those crappy pipe boots, you can have an issue.
Yeah.
You will have issues. You will have roof leaks. Yeah, and then you're gonna have some
I
problems.
like
So so it's that's kind of that elevates the status of our roof.
What else?
We'll tell people about that.
Yeah. What else is there that? Because everyone wants to offer unlimited warranties and stuff like that. What else is there that you'd say like ends up being the hard part about that unlimited warranty? Is it like
the pipe boots are a little tricky.
Ways after.
Yeah, the pipe boots themselves are a little tricky to install. You kind of because the ones that are $15, you can just like cut them and they one size fits all, so they're really easy to do. And but the ones that are the ones I'm talking about, the ultimate boot, you have to kind of measure out the pipe boot and make sure that it fits that pipe. And if it doesn't fit the pipe, then like if it's a metal pipe, then you have to get an adapter. So and then finding an adapter, it can be kind of a pain. So like it's not very efficient. It's not efficient, actually.
Gotcha.
You should know that.
Like scaling that with your team. Oops. So scaling that out to your team, then what is do you have to do trainings internally at your company to like make sure everyone gets the alternate version?
Yeah, we've been doing it for a while now, so we're pretty dialed into it. We kind of know the process, but that first 20 jobs that we did like that, it was definitely hitting our head against the wall. Having some issues running around. I'm personally running around trying to track this stuff down, and once I kind of got it, I was like, awesome, now I can like train this, and then we kind of train people on. And at this point, it's easy. It's like, we don't have the boot. Like, all right, well, we'll go do you know what to do? And they're like, cool. All right. So they will figure it out. So, man. So, but I want to back up a bit too, because I want to know a little bit more about you. Like, so like, are you, do you come from like a family? Do you have siblings, and do you have like, are your parents married still?
I have 3 older brothers. What's that?
Are your parents married and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, my parents are still married. 3 older siblings. I was kind of the black sheep.
Oh, were you
and
really?
Then I kind of moved into, like I feel like pretty well integrated at this point, but like for a while it's black sheep and just they're all religious and I'm not. So that's the main thing. Yeah.
So you grew up in kind of a good family. Sounds like you were the youngest. So you probably got 3 brothers, older brothers.
Yeah, 3 older brothers. Yeah.
So they kind of
I just was like the creative.
Right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, having 3 older brothers is funny. Like I just have those crazy. Like I don't even think much of it. I just like remember like getting chased around the yard, and just like like getting the nuggies. Like it wasn't anything crazy, but just that normal older brother thing. Generally, I remember all that very pleasantly, like the camaraderie of like brothers.
Cool.
Like that's a 2-on-2 basketball game.
Yeah,
that's
really cool.
That's the best part about like growing up with like 3 brothers is like you literally like we could have straight up full on sports games in our yard and in our driveway. So that was cool.
Man, that is really cool. That's one thing about the roofing industry too, man. It's like a real kind of intense brotherhood, man. Like I've noticed, it's kind of like, man, roofers take roofing very seriously.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And they take other roofers real seriously. And like it really is a brotherhood type thing, but it's really cool to see. I mean, I kind of wish it expanded into other industries, like where, I mean, this may sound corny, but like, the whole world is being this like brotherhood, all people kind of coming together would be really cool. And you see that in this industry, although there's definitely a lot of, antagonizing things that go on as well.
Ribbing. And I was talking to Best Damn Roofer about this recently on our podcast, and he was, I was like, why are there so many haters, man?
Yeah.
Why is roofing like filled with haters? There's a lot of haters too, right? But he's like, dude, it's like a roofing job. You're on the roofing job. You give shit to the new guy, and like you get used to giving and taking shit. That was his way of describing it, and I was like, that does relate to brothers, right? Like that's kind of the vibe sometimes with brothers.
For sure.
So I can see that, and it helped me take that a little less seriously, and not just for ourselves, because they are, obviously, dude. People hate marketers a little bit, so I'm like, I have to deal with that. We know we get the there is obvious scammers out there, so we kind of understand that, and we're not like mad at it. But then on the other side, like our clients, right, put out a video. We put out a video for our client on Facebook, and people love to talk shit, and other roofers love to talk shit. They comment on your video. They're like, "Why isn't this OSHA?" Like, it's just like, Jesus, man.
I know. We got to be really careful. Yeah, we're really careful about all that. I'm curious, like your take on your opinion on Best Damn Roofer. Like he
Yeah.
clearly has, he's pretty much, I would say, the biggest influencer in the roofing space, and
Yeah.
what he does. Like, what's your opinion about that? Do you think it's good for the industry? Do you think BDR is good for the industry, bad for the industry? Do you think he needs to, quiet down a bit and change directions, or which he's never gonna do?
I'm gonna do like a politically correct answer, but basically, I believe there's room for everybody. I love how multifaceted. There's tons of shit going on. I would say our mission is to modernize like the way marketing is in roofing and construction, right? Like I believe that in 10 years, this is going to be a much more well-respected industry. And like I hate saying that because it sounds like it's not.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not. It doesn't have particularly modern marketing right now. It's all a little, in general, it's a little on the early side of the curve of there's innovation. There's going to be innovation over the next 10 years of roofing construction marketing in general. Like, it's just a little behind. It's not tech. It's not money. It's not medical. So it's like, it's just a little bit back here. I love that we get to be part of that. BDR is a different thing. He's like the Letterkenny of roofing. He's got it's hilarious though. And in a way he is modernizing roofing because he's fucking not taking it seriously. He's hilarious and he's a silly motherfucker, and he's bringing his whole self to work, which to me, that was the biggest thing that I took from that. I mean, he's not trying to crazy grow his roofing business, so I wouldn't like copy him per se, but because he's just trying to get sponsorships and that kind of thing. So don't copy the guy, but at the same time, he's not taking yourself seriously in certain ways. It's good for the it's good for the market. It's good for the industry because, that is a sign of a mature industry where it's got all these different facets. You've got funny people. You've got all this different stuff. So I would say just like he fleshes it out. He brings, and other people in this industry that have strong opinions. And
well, let me ask you this. Are you a fan?
Like,
are you a fan of BDR?
I don't, to be honest, man, I don't relate to it as much because
really?
I know that roofers do, and like roofers have fun with it and love it.
Yeah.
I don't relate to it as much. I relate to him as like a guy who does stunts, and he knows how to do funny content for his audience. So certainly I want to take inspiration from that. I want to take ourselves a little less seriously. I want to go out and do things. It's
interesting how big he got so quick too, though. Like, doing that kind of content. Like, I know who would have thought that that's the content that roofers really wanted. Like, who would have thought? It's like weird with the internet, right? like you just never know what roofers are or what anyone's going to want. And the most random things go viral, so it's pretty crazy. But yeah, so let's like, I don't know if you would just fast forward a bit, like going into the Hook, you guys have been around for, I think 4 or 5 years, something like that, or
4 years.
4 years. Okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah, but 4 years plus now.
Nice. That's awesome. And you've grown your team, like you were telling me on your podcast, quite a bit, right? You kind of started with, was it just you starting out, or did you kind of hire people right away?
Yep. I hired my wife real quick. So 4 months in, I hired my wife. We were all scared because I bet you a lot of roofers could relate to this too. Like you're like, she has a corporate job. It wasn't like super well paying, but it was like corporate jobs. Like, oh, like I'm just a silly little business owner over here on the side, right? And then we grabbed her because it was like she hated her job. But she's in the company now. We were scared, and then they laid off her whole department after she left. So it's like you think these jobs are like so, you got so much certainty. But there's nothing certain in life, and taking risks is beautiful. And every business owner I've talked to is like, risk is it's just so built into everything. Every time I hire somebody, it's a risk, especially those first 5 hires. And so, yes, first couple, we've basically been hiring like 5 people a year.
Do you know how you kind of
ever
built,
since the
like,
second year?
How did you build your tolerance to risk? I mean, have you always been more like risk, leaning to risk towards risk, or have you always been kind of risk averse and you had to kind of like overcome that, or like what's your relationship with risk?
Yeah, I think the principle that I've seen be successful regarding this topic is trusting yourself. Trusting yourself. Once you've demonstrated some ability to get successes, trusting yourself in that area. And I remember working for somebody else, and I went out to the Appalachians or something. I went and climbed a mountain, obviously. Great analogy, right? You're going up this hill, thinking about these things. I remember talking to a friend about it, and just like, I was ready to get out of my other company. And I was scared as hell. But they're just like, it sounds like I was just talking. They were letting me talk. Nice friends let you talk sometimes. And I was just like, holy shit. I have all these things in place. And they're telling me, they're just reflecting it back to me. You are talking to us. You sound like you know what you're doing. Why don't you just trust yourself? And I just kind of had to come to that terms. Me asking people for what to do. And eventually they're just like, I don't have all the information. You have all the information. You have more information about your situation than anyone else does. So you got to me, it's not as risky when you trust yourself. And then I've learned, hey, as many people I can have around me that are kind of like mentors, that's important, because those people inform your context so that you don't want to be out there blind, but in the end, you have to make that decision. They don't want to make it for you. I remember my dad telling me one time, like, I was trying to like ask all these questions. He's like, I don't, he's a smart guy and he runs a $10 million business. He's not an idiot, but he's like, I got sick of making decisions for my sons because they then blame you for it. You got to take responsibility. You don't want to have anyone to blame. You want to be the only one to blame if something goes terribly wrong. Like, it's actually really relieving in a way. Like, and I think, just to get back to risk for a second, certainly the biggest risk was just going out on my own. Once you do that, it's kind of like you're going downhill on a ski ramp. You know, like it's scary, but you know you have to make a decision one way or the other. So it's like kind of like it's a big risk to not move. And I think that's probably the thing, is like not moving is the biggest risk. And so you got to make a decision. You're going down that hill. Do I go off the jump or do I go down the hole? You know, like, let's go off the jump.
Yeah. You know, it's hard. Either sometimes we take a risk or we don't take a risk. I mean, it's kind of like they can work out well either way, and they can work out badly.
No, certainly calculated risk is the main deal. Like, I don't, like, I have slowed down on hiring a little bit. So like, we probably won't add 5 people this year, because yes, every single time you do that, like, it's just, but you're just kind of like slowing it down, but in a way that is a risk too, right? Because then people that you're talking to, you know, like, I guess ours it's a risk for us, because B2B, business to business stuff, you're talking to people that are like, oh, so you're not willing to hire, you're not being aggressive. Like, I'm kind of worried about my account, that kind of thing. And I'm sure there's some correlation too with roofing, but just the idea of there is risk in not making moves too, basically.
Roofing's a tough business. It's very up and down. It is. It's very capital intensive. You have to be good with cash flow management. You have to be good with working with financials, with credit lines. Be good with working with people, hiring, firing quickly, ramp up, ramp down really fast. It is insane. It is such a hard business. So I feel kind of happy that like I'm kind of cutting my teeth with it. You know, I ran the old company for a while, and then I now, you know, run it completely by myself on the new one. I don't really run by myself. We've got a really amazing team, but also I like get mentored, you know, from like the Roofing Academy, the Randy Brothers. I'm in that, and then I go to Breakthrough Academy. I get mentored with them, and you know, I get a lot of help like with running this business, and I don't do it perfectly whatsoever, but it's super tough.
Who's Breakthrough Academy again? What
Breakthrough
is
Academy is a consulting company that's based out of Canada.
Who's the main guy?
The main guy is Danny Kerr. Yeah.
Okay.
Danny
I gotta meet that guy. I hear about that guy a lot. I was just talking to really cool. Randy Brothers in that podcast. That was freaking awesome too.
Yeah, they do really cool stuff. Him and Suma Media with Nick, and so they. But yeah, I'm in that too. So I think, you know, roofers are out there, if they're feeling kind of alone, they really should look into Roofing Academy or Breakthrough Academy, like those kinds of things that really help kind of get some peer and some support. And you know, I think without those kind of resources, I definitely would have struggled, especially early on. I mean, I was feeling so alone, you know, in the whole thing, and you know, and I was alone. It was me and my roofing crew right behind me. So like, you know, it was really crazy. But anyways, yeah. So So let's fast forward now to kind of what you're doing now, because I really wanted to get into some SEO. I think there's
Yeah.
obviously digital marketing and web is so vast. There's so many things to talk about, right? But
Hmm.
like, I was thinking for this one, just kind of we'll touch on SEO for a bit, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. But I think
Yeah.
I think SEO is obviously extremely important in this day and age, especially post pandemic. It's also extremely complicated, in my opinion, and extremely complex. And you really need to know
Hmm.
what you're doing before you start dropping a bunch of money on it, I think. And because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, man, it was when I was shopping around for SEO back in the day. I remember back in the day, I hit you guys up too, and we kind of I
Yeah.
think we kind of had a tough time connecting. You were like really early on at that
I don't
point.
know what happened there. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, but
Yeah, it's all good. But like I was talking to people and like this is their pitch. Like, okay, yeah, no, we'll do your SEO. You're looking at 1,500 a month.
yeah.
You will get absolutely no results for probably about 6 months, and then at 6 months you'll start ranking a little bit,
Yeah.
and then you got to probably up your budget at that point once you start ranking. So you're probably looking around 2,000, 2,500 after about 6 months.
Yeah.
Still kind of ranking. You got to keep doing that another year. So you might want to get your head around that kind of investment, and then maybe like a year to a year and a half, your website will start ranking. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck
It's
are you
like it's
talking
nuts.
about?
It's nuts. No, it's true, but it's almost like that's why I like almost advise people like you kind of want to be a mature business before you crank on that, unless you're going to do it yourself.
Mm,
And I think on stuff like this, I try to give some of the basics real quick because
yeah.
I think some people should try to do it themselves,
Hmm.
not to just see how hard it is, but to actually get some stuff done on their website
Hmm.
because so much of it is just time.
Yeah. Well, let's
SEO
talk
is
about the
just,
really basic stuff. I mean, the basic
yeah,
one is
yeah,
going to be just getting your Google My Business listing up to date,
yes,
right?
exactly.
It's free, you know?
Basically, in that one, and that one, honestly, a lot of people just don't fully fill out their thing. So,
Yeah.
like, that's the number one thing, and that's I could leave it at that.
Yeah.
Fully fill out your thing, and then get reviews. That's like basically the one sentence
So
version.
even to get more, because there's roofers out there who are starting out, they're going to be like, dude, what are you even talking about? Google My Business,
Yeah,
So you just go, you have to, create a Google account, go into My
yeah,
Business, you log in, you create that account, and then it'll ask you, your address, and it'll start asking your services and your hours of
yeah,
operation, and you have to fill that out as well as you possibly can, with
exactly.
like all of that stuff, and write
And even be
descriptions and
very
everything.
descriptive, like using the entire space for the description.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll do it where I'll give like something very human oriented at the top. Like I'll give a description of our business. I'll in the way that we like to talk about it, right? Like and of our clients. So very human.
Hmm.
And then I go into if you're looking for, and then I use my keyword. I do put keywords in those Google My Business descriptions because they use everything. And another thing is like, so we're going to simple, and then a little bit of an advanced tip would be actually asking, ideally, if you can, get some of those services and locations mentioned in the reviews
Hmm.
and in the responses. So if you don't feel comfortable saying, hey, could you mention the service and location that your house was in when we serviced you?
Hmm.
You can just say, it was so awesome working in your neighborhood, and we did this, this, and this, and we're grateful for the review.
Hmm.
So like those, the actual review and the response from the business owner are ranking factors for the Google Maps section of Google.
So like, my opinion is like, just get, even if you have no website and you have nothing, you have no money, you're just barely starting out, like you can do Google My Business for free. You can have that listing on there.
Yeah.
You can start getting some reviews here and there, even just, little things. And that can kind of be
Mm-hmm.
starting point. The only challenge with that is like, I think people, even you thinking about having your own company, like just open your Google My Business right now to start.
Yep.
The only problem is that you make sure you have your name right and you have some kind of basic branding, like at least have
Yep.
something, right? Because then you got to
Mm-hmm.
rebrand down the road. Then you just like screwed up that work that you did for a while, right? So
Yep.
like I just kind of want to encourage people like get your branding done, and then get like get your Google My listing page, and then you can kind of work on that for a bit until you get while you're working on your website, and so because I think that the next thing with SEO, obviously you need to have a website.
Yep.
What's your opinion about like websites as far as like website builders? Like, do you think like going
Yeah.
Wix or just biting the bullet and going with like a WordPress site? Because from my perspective,
Yeah.
it's basically comes down to use a website builder like a GoDaddy, a Wix, a Weebly, or whatever, or you go through WordPress. Is that kind of the way, is that the status quo of website development?
Yeah. So I would say you've got, even on the low end of WordPress, like using the builders or like the themes and stuff within WordPress, if you can get somebody to do that well, like that's cheap, and usually not us, because like usually people have had a couple websites before they get to us, because they're just like kind of like they're like, all right, it's time to do like the full thing, whatever. That's usually us. But those first couple, like a WordPress theme, just Google like even roofer WordPress theme, you can find those. And like you can find a college student or somebody decent to do it. It's just they usually are a little bit limited on the function. And then the hard part of a website from my perspective is not the like making sure that a website exists.
Well, so one thing I was really curious about, if you can really like, so are you, so like the Squarespace, the Weebly's, the, you know, those website builders, you think so? Or should they bite the bullet and go with WordPress?
Do it the first. I don't know. I believe the basics of Squarespace SEO are, I mean, I own the term why Squarespace sucks for SEO on Google, but I don't really believe it that much. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just think basically a basic WordPress theme, Squarespace, Wix, Weebly, Webs, and a template. Like, I think Squarespace has better looking stuff if you don't know what you're doing. I think WordPress, if you can find somebody to help for like a cheap website designer or something like that, those are two good places to start.
I mean, I think
it's hard to say what I would do, because
it's going to be a wash, man. You're going with WordPress or you're going with one of those other ones, because if you go with one of the other ones, you're still going to drop some money. You're still going to drop, you know, even on a cheap one, $500, call it. You know, now you've got you're going to have to rebrand it down the word into a WordPress if you want to optimize your SEO. Would you agree with that or disagree?
I would agree, because the real advanced stuff on SEO, that's why we like WordPress. Like if you're going to bring it to an SEO company, if you are planning on doing that in the future, it's probably good to get onto WordPress.
Well, I mean, let's get real. If you're going to have a roofing company, if you're going to own a roofing company and you're going to go down that road, even if you want to stay small, you're going to have to do SEO. It's necessary. That's my opinion. I mean, would you agree?
Well, hey, dude, I gotta say, I don't agree.
Okay.
I don't agree, because there's companies, and maybe a little bit more on the storm side, but there's companies, big ones that you and I both know that are awesome, amazing, that just do door knocking or just have other bits. I believe it's a really good way. It's a really good way. And it's like what I like about SEO, just real briefly, is just, I like that you can build an asset in your website, and that it kind of like, even if you stop SEO, it's generally kind of like there. You know what I mean? Like if you build your rankings, yes, over time, there's like a half-life to those rankings. Like if you're not diligently kind of like, preening it or whatever.
There are massive
but in general,
companies,
you've got this asset.
Well, there's massive companies, roofing companies, that don't use WordPress.
Oh yeah.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I'm not familiar with that.
I would say that, sorry, I'm saying that don't do a lot of SEO, or like,
okay. Cause they're just,
and I guess that's why, because they're awesome. Like that's what I want to say is like, and like, I always do this, cause like I said, my dad has a $10 million company. They did no marketing.
Interesting.
Right. They just really good craftsmanship, and they don't have to make that many sales to like do it. So like commercial construction, commercial roofing. Yeah. That's going to be way more about relationships. We're so happy to have a few commercial construction clients, but SEO is less important in that area.
That's fascinating.
And the long-term relationships. Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. I mean, I've always been under the impression, well, not only I mean, you're helping me.
We can disagree too. I think it's okay to disagree, just from my perspective. I think it makes the content more interesting sometimes.
Yeah. I'm interested in the truth. Personally, I'm not even really interested.
And sometimes disagreement gets you kind of triangulated in that direction, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think, So as something to think about. So I do kind of, I still would hold that if you're sort of like a newer person, and you're kind of getting into the roof, you want to do your own roofing company, or even you're thinking about doing, whatever. I would still kind of hold that you should just get started on the right foot with WordPress. Because and maybe I may be wrong that it's not necessary. Actually, well, I 100% am wrong, because it's clearly there's successful roofing companies that don't do SEO and don't have WordPress, and they're successful. So it's not necessary.
Let's say retail. Yes.
Okay.
And it depends, because there are people but maybe they are a little bit more of the outliers. And I do believe retail is it's like a really strong suggestion, and it might be a hard road if you can't get higher at Google. Because right now,
Gotcha.
Google is just how people look for stuff.
Yeah.
So I think retail for sure, I could say that it's definitely closer to absolute, probably like a 90%. I'm sure there's some retail people that did it, but obviously like,
if you've got a good canvassing game, well, if you got a good canvassing game going, you get a good door knocker. You don't necessarily have to rely on SEO, but I mean, who wants to do that their whole life? I would tell the dude, like, look, if you're awesome canvasser and you know how to run teams, cool, do it. But dude, I mean, come on, are you ever going to outgrow that? Like, get on top of your SEO, get yourself a nice WordPress website and start developing that like as soon as possible. Use that money you're making on canvassing and put it in the website. So you're not stuck. You can scale the business with Google's help. You know what I mean? Like, instead of knocking on doors, I mean, it's such a grind doing that.
Yeah, so, let's do grass is greener for me, because like clients of ours, like I hear the troubles that they go through. Like, besides this whole thing, like I have a client that says he has lead babies.
Yeah.
Because they do get like it's SEO, but it's also Google. The other one big thing for him right now is those like Google local services ads. Right. Like and then he does paid ads, PPC too. So he does a lot of stuff on digital. But then you get like a little bit soft with the salespeople. It seems like, and like good for him though, right? Like good. It's good in a way.
Oh yeah. But look, as a roofing owner needs to make a decision. At a certain point, you come to a crossroads, and you have to get the mindset of like, am I going to have people who I'm going to give them leads, and that's our approach, or are we going to have people who are just like hardcore door knockers, and that's our approach? Like I personally believe you kind of have to figure that out and what the direction you want to do personally. I think you can definitely do a mix of it, but like I personally want guys who, are college graduates who want to drive a nice truck, who want to be like in a good lucrative career, want to make $100,000. They don't want to be out there. I mean, somebody who like went to school, who worked hard, who has a good upbringing, who, who you want to be working at your roofing company is not going to want to go out there and grind it out 20 hours, all day.
It's different skill sets, man. It's different skill sets. Like,
it's so different. So like those people are like, this sounds like a great career. I mean, but like grinding it out for 5 hours a day on the door, it sounds like a nightmare. Yeah, exactly. But however, if I can, what I say now is like, well, we have leads, man. So like, we're going to get you set up with leads, and you supplement those leads with door knocking, and I actually learned this from Randy Brothers. He's like, look, we have partnerships with our salespeople. We tell them, look, for every lead that we give you, you have to give us a lead back. And you do that by, knocking the surrounding doors. We don't need you to go out and canvas, 10 hours a day or anything, but just go out there. We're going to give you a lead, and then you give us one back. But to get that one back, you got to go out and knock some doors, So, I really like that approach, and his guys are happy. My guys are happy. Everybody's like happy. No one's like dreading their job. I remember on Saturday mornings when I didn't know how to go knock on doors, I would literally dread it all morning long, like knowing I had to like get out there and knock all day. And it was hard. It was really hard. So, but yeah, man. So I think with SEO, I think it is a good way to, and I mean, it works, right? I mean, I personally know it works because I see it work in our business. You've seen it probably catapult companies, right? I mean, like just
it's fun.
Right?
It can be real fun, and I mean, like I feel like it's almost more relatable to tell our story a little bit, like, because otherwise it feels like I'm promoting.
As far as hook,
so I don't want to be like. Yeah, like just how, like, because this is how we made our business, and I mean, you can see how that might apply to.
Hook did SEO on their own website, and that's how you guys generated your own clients.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
And I wasn't well connected in this industry. I was young, frankly. Like some of the jobs that I got early, and like how quick this was able to happen, is because of that. Because I figured out how to rank, and right now we're about to switch this off because we don't care as much about Minneapolis anymore. But I ranked for Minneapolis web design and Minneapolis SEO. I got like Mall of America as a client for that, like
crazy,
from that, like,
dude.
Yeah, like weird stuff, and like,
damn,
and that was cool as hell. Like, right, like being able to be on the first page for that location specific service, really, it was a big deal for me.
Can
So
you, do you mind?
I went,
This is really interesting,
sure,
Tim. Do you mind
yeah.
telling us, like, okay, so, like, you started working on your SEO. It wasn't overnight that the ranking happened, right? Like, it had to be over
No, no, no,
time.
no.
But
Nope.
was it overnight as far as one
Yeah.
day the phone is ringing like way more, and you're like, what the hell just
Yep.
happened? Is that kind of how things?
No, 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 no. Long game, and like literally, like, and you lose interest. Like, we got 5 leads in the past 24 hours, and I'm like bored with it. Like, four, tw- uh, 4 out of 5 are specialty contractors. Like, I'm stoked about like our marketing, whatever. But like, you just get less excited. Like, so like your success goes up, and then you're less excited because like it's the hedonic treadmill. You always like want more. We always want more, right?
So with Hook, it was sort of an
But anyways,
incremental, like incremental progress type thing.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I'll give you those two kind of like the 2 big pivots for us were one. Well, actually, the first one is just like I installed Google Analytics on my website and saw, even with sharing all over social media, I had 10 people on my website that week. 10 from like me sharing on social media. I guess I'm not an influencer, right? So once you realize you're not an influencer, so then, I started to put out blogs, try to like, basically I just Googled like how to get more people on website, right? Like, so that was the start.
Wow. But weren't you doing that? You were doing
that
that at your old company though, weren't you? You were doing some of that at your old
Yeah,
company.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm talking like 8 years ago in college, making my website.
Gotcha.
Why isn't there people on my website? How do I get people on my website?
Okay.
So then I found Google, like, I started to put out my first couple blogs. That blogging was the big first thing.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the second phase was like bigger, longer blogs.
Okay.
And landing pages on my website, for different services. Because the more services you have, like, you can have a page for each one of them, then somebody could come in for it. So it's nice in that way to be kind of broader, because then you have, like, let's say you had metal roof, like I'm trying to just, for the audience, metal roofing,
right,
commercial roofing, those different pages, those are all like tentacles that somebody
the
can come in
different
for.
pages, what I've learned is that you want to have a landing page in like sort of an extension of your website for every jurisdiction that you work in. So if you're in Dallas,
ideally,
you want to have a Dallas landing page. You want to have a Denton, a McKinney, a Plano, a landing page for each one. So people are like in Plano being like, hey, Plano roofers, boom, your website's going to rank at that point if you have a landing page for just Plano, right? Is that kind of the basic idea?
Yeah, no, exactly. And each one of those has to have at least like 300, 500 words of original content to do anything.
Gotcha. Okay.
And just basics kind of peppered in here along the way. Meta titles and descriptions are the other big thing if you've got nothing else. And just making sure it's the keyword is at the front of that meta title. Basically, that's like the super basics. Hey, you're on your way on SEO. It is good to learn this stuff a little bit, even if you're going to delegate it.
It is 100% good. Yeah.
And then, so the big guides thing, because I went to an SEO company. I was a web designer at an SEO company, right? So I'm just making their websites, and I'm trying to ask people to like teach me, and I'm like learning, but then I had to learn myself because no one had time or whatever. So I just sat there reading these guides. I made experiments. I've done crazy experiments, but the big other move was just bigger content, like the ultimate guide to, let's say, like whatever it is. So ultimate guide to, and for the audience is the ideal, right? Like a giant guide, who your customer is, giant guide for what to do when you're bored in Denton, right? Like it could be even like if it's for a homeowner, it could be anything local. So it doesn't always have to be about roofing. And in that case, like I was doing stuff that wasn't closely to my audience. I was just doing stuff I was excited about. So I did this giant guide about hand lettering because I loved writing and I loved hand lettering. So I was just passionate. And this is what kept me up to this, even when it wasn't really driving that much business for me. I just was like excited, and I'm interested and I'm curious.
Yeah.
So
I'm
cool. Like I was starting to get that traffic, but like 200 to 400 people a day because of these big guides. Big guides were driving it. And then I learned about the final phase, I'd say, of like kind of this like epiphany journey was getting links back to my website. So the first couple times, like I wrote for like somebody told me about it. I talked to the person who was ranking the highest in my area, paid him $300, $400 to just pick his brain for some things I cared about. And it's kind of funny that he allowed me to do that, to be honest, because ultimately we compete to this day
Yeah.
for these terms now. Don't give all your secrets away for $400 in 1 hour, you know?
Interesting. Yeah.
Lovely guy. I mean,
Yeah.
the point is he gave me a lot of secrets, and the big thing was linking. And I literally like paid $400 an hour, like for 1 hour to like get what he was doing. I did a blog post for something called like lifehack.org. It had a very high authority. Like it's just a well-trafficked website. And I just put a link back to my website in there. And at the time, you know, they didn't have a crazy ton of moderation. I was like, literally like, there was just like, write this article about dog owners and cat owners. And I was like, okay, I don't even get it. It wasn't even about the thing I'm trying to sell, but I put a link in it back to my website. That was when my website went from that 200, 400 mark to 1,000 people a day. And like, we did just, I mean, I'm not trying to like, this is the journey, right? That led me to here, which is we've done a lot of content in the meantime.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot of links in the meantime.
That's like your door knocking. That's like how you door knock.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially,
Exactly. And I get excited about it, to be honest.
Grunt work of all that stuff, man. That's crazy.
Exactly. In our industry, it's way harder because you're going up against all these other guys that are nerds like me that are doing this all day and just like weirdly passionate about it. So in our industry, it's crazy hard. And roofing, especially, and I say like playing, you're going to do a lot better if you're playing small ball in smaller markets or even medium-sized markets. You have an opportunity with like just even like those first 2 or 3 steps that I took to get just as far. Like you don't have to be me where I just cranked on it for 4 years until like we've got 5 leads every 24 hours. Like that's cool, but it's not like it's that amount of effort is not going to make sense for most businesses. What I'm saying is most of that is not necessary for this industry because this industry has less competition and this industry is, you know, most of your friends that you know that are roofing companies or most of the people that you're like other roofing companies that you know of and are considering, they're not spending the time or effort here. So the ability, if you can know enough about this, even to be just like start it, you could potentially get in those first couple pages for stuff that makes money. And you don't even have to hire a company like us. We just scale that out for people. I think the best like note, if like I can throw the little like pitch in here for Hook is just, if you know that this does make money, then scale it out with a company like us. Like, but I almost feel like don't do that unless you've seen some evidence that it will work for your company with some hustle internally or some in person working on some. The problem with blogging is you really do want to do, this is like as advanced as I'll try to go here, is like keyword strategy is the thing that people need to work on because blogging alone does almost nothing. It's actually like a little sad when you look at your traffic and you put up 3 blogs that week and you're like, there's nothing. This is terrible. That's why most people give up. And you don't want to give up. Like,
well, blogging itself though, like writing a blog, like who knows how to write these days? Like we know how to, we're it's a Twitter age, you know, and like who knows how to write a full on sentence or a full out paragraph, you know, really. So it's tough to even do that in and of itself, which is, I think that's kind of what my journey was. I kind of realized, you know, when as a roofer that like the SEO was just kind of like necessary. I 100% know it's necessary at this point. And I needed to kind of go down the road. So I did do a lot of it myself with just like my Google page and, you know, working with a freelancer on our website. And then we kind of I worked with a different freelancer with the Yoast plugins. And then we kind of started, you know, I pretty much did develop it internally on our own, and we continue to do that, you know, internally. So,
awesome.
I've learned a lot about it now.
Great.
I mean, it's, I'm not exactly a nerd, but I definitely can nerd out on some things. And,
I just say that to like, just make people feel better if they don't like it. Yeah. I
work with nerds though. Me and nerds
basically
are cool.
Nerding out on stuff. Yeah. Nerding out on stuff is awesome because like it's passion, right? You're interested in something, and that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying it in an endearing way, right? Like I think we're cool. I think digital marketing is super cool, and I think people that understand it, if they're not cool, they're definitely capable of making money off the internet, which is cool.
Well, I got to tell you though, that when I got the first real hardcore Google lead, like they were just like, well, we found you on Google. We liked
Yeah.
your rating. We liked that you had all the reviews. We liked you had 5-star reviews. And yeah, we already did our research. Like, we want to go with you. I mean, it was that like,
Hmm.
it was that like, it was like order taking, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
I sent that to
It's
our guy.
different. It's different. Yeah.
I don't run leads really that much anymore, but like I gave it to, I like to pre-qualify still. So like
Yeah.
that was last year. I pre-qualified it, and then they told me that, and I was just like, oh, okay, great. And I was kind of like, yeah, my mind was blown. But we
Yeah.
haven't gotten too much into this, but like even the same thing happened with YouTube. Like I had a dude call, and he was like,
Yeah.
saw you guys on YouTube. He's like, it seems like you're the only roofer in town doing the F-Wave roof,
Hmm.
because the F-Wave roof is a very specialty product, and we kind of were really. And so we made whole videos about it. And then he's like, I love your guys' videos on YouTube. Like I'm done researching. I want to do do this F-Wave job, and I want you guys to do it. When can we start?
That's
I was
great.
like, that's just like a phone call, and that's like a $30,000 job right there. And then that first Google one was like a $15,000 job, and we did really well on that. So it's just, and so that was extremely
That's all
motivating.
You want.
Yeah.
You want people eager to work with you. That's part of what getting great reviews is about. That's part of what getting higher on Google is about. That's part of what doing any kind of.
But dude, that was like, I think we had,
about. I want to.
we had at least 25 reviews at that point, 5-star reviews. We had, we had done a lot of work to get to that point. So, I mean, I feel like the ROI is, we're probably still in the hole really with it all, but like we're slowly climbing out of it,
I understand. I totally get that. And that's why it's like, you got to diversify and not be like, I'm going to lean entirely on this and all that. I mean, it is expensive too. That's the important thing. SEO is a very expensive way. Like, but ultimately what you want is more eager customers, right? Like, and I challenge the idea of Facebook ads a little bit, in that I don't think those people are as eager as when they come in through that. Because you're kind of knocking on their door.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
With Facebook, you're
Absolutely.
not, because they didn't like your page, and you're not like giving them all this useful information. Usually you're kind of hitting them with a pitch kind of quickly. Otherwise you're wasting ad spend.
Yeah.
Right.
Facebook is
so like,
rough,
that's what I think is like, I just say like, it's a good thing to do and try and experiment with and spend some money on. And then I want to find those methods where people are the most eager when they come in. And that's why I like, when somebody's looking for me, I want to show up on high Google, whether that's Google ads, whether that's local service ads, or whether that's SEO. And that's definitely getting higher on those maps and getting better reviews.
We didn't even talk about PPC at this point, and all that. So we'll probably have to save that for the next one. But hey, Tim, it was really good talking to you, man. Thank you so much for coming on Roofing It. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, really good conversation, I have to say. So we're excited and to continue to have this relationship and talk to you in the future. And maybe we'll see you at the SRC Summit. All right, man. Have a great day, Tim. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
appreciate you, man. Bye.